I would like to give you a quick lesson on sentences.
Okay.
Okay, if you have a long sentence and you want to break it down to make sense of the sentence, the first thing you should do is look for the verb. The verb that is conjugated, not a gerund and not an infinitive, but the conjugated verb. And by conjugated, I mean the verb that has change in tense, future, past, present progressive, past progressive, all of that. So look for the verb that has the conjugation, the time, the tense associated with it. There might be more than one. If there's more than one, then look for the conjunctions. You can look for the coordinating conjunctions or the subordinating conjunctions. Coordinating conjunctions are and, or, but, so, yet, nor, for. And subordinating conjunctions, I'm just going to say there's two of them. I mean, there's more. If and because are the ones that come to mind. However, I don't want to say it's a conjunction, but it's another word to look for that indicates subordination in a sentence. So when I say when you see a coordinating conjunction like and, or, for, and, or, but, so, yet, you're taking the sentence and dividing it into two equal sentences that mean different things. A complete sentence over here and a complete sentence over here, connected with a coordinating conjunction. A subordinating conjunction indicates that there's a dominant phrase, a dominant sentence, the main clause in a sentence, and a subordinating clause in the sentence. So in the sentence like that, with the if, because, you want to look for those words. In a sentence like that, take off the if and take off the subordinating clause entirely and just look at the main clause. The other clause might change the context of that sentence. But yes, that is just the beginning of a whole series on sentences that I want to talk about. Does any of that not make sense to you?
No.
Okay, so that's basically the difference between a compound sentence and a complex sentence. A compound sentence is connecting two sentences they have equal weight. The second phrase, you're connecting two complete sentences. You're connecting two independent clauses. Independent clause connected with a conjunction, a coordinating conjunction. One or the other of the independent clauses may change the context, but this sentence is essentially equal to this sentence. And subordinating conjunctions indicate that you have a complex sentence where you have a main clause and a subordinating clause. So you take off the subordinating clause and make sure you know the meaning of the main clause first. And a clause, just to sort of define that, is a phrase, essentially a clause doesn't have to be a sentence. A clause is a phrase with a subject and a verb. A clause is a phrase with at least a verb and most likely a subject, creating a complete thought. So here's an example of a clause. I ran. I ran fast. Here is a subordinating conjunction clause, the subordinating clause. Because he was chasing me. If you just said, because he was chasing me, that doesn't make sense on its own. It's not a complete thought because it needs the main clause, I ran fast, for the second part to make sense. When I said a sentence has to have at least a verb, let's say I'm telling you, run! He's chasing you. Run! Run, because he's chasing you. Run. So I don't have to have the subject you in there. You is understood because I'm demanding that you run. Run! That's a complete thought. A complete thought with just a verb. And because typically if you're yelling something at someone, you're not saying, you run. That's like too many words. You want to say the thought and you want to say it fast because speed is of importance in that situation. Run, get up, stop, put the fire out. You know, there's an urgency. So, you know, or not always, but you know, in a situation like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we discussed clauses. Clauses are phrases with at least a verb, but most of the time a subject and a verb. A complete sentence is a clause with a subject and a verb. A compound sentence has a subject and a verb on both sides of a conjunction, coordinating conjunction, and a complex sentence has a subject and a verb on both sides of a subordinating conjunction. But in a complex sentence, only one clause can stand alone and make sense. The other clause needs the main clause for it to make sense. So, blah. Now that I've just said all that, I don't know. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, so next time, come with examples and we will dissect the sentence. Back in school, they called it sentence diagramming. But we'll just take the sentence apart and look at each part and make sure it all makes sense. But I always say the very first step is look for the verb. All right.